Thank you guys for being here. Thank you. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Krebsbach. I am a film professor at a small semester off-campus program for students called the LA Film Studies Center. And I'm going to let you introduce, this is Chris Kelly.
Yeah. Hello.
Two
Hi.
Chris's.
Hi.
Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of the bio background.
I'm Chris Kelly. I was the sad guy in that movie. I wrote and directed this, and I'm just a writer and director, and I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm very excited anytime someone sees this. It's a small little indie movie, so I'm very grateful that you guys sought this out. It means a lot. Yeah.
So just a writer and director. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you went to school, how you've come up, what your day job is?
Sure. I went to school at UC Irvine, and I was a creative writing major and a drama major, and started out by acting and writing and kind of performed in high school and college. And then in college, I started doing improv, and that's kind of how I discovered comedy. Because I think in high school and college, I didn't really know what combination of things I wanted to do or what I was best at between performing, writing, comedy. I didn't know what the sweet spot was for me. And then I found improv, and I really liked it because it was sort of a combination of performing and writing. And comedy, obviously. And I started taking classes at the Groundlings when I was in college, and I really liked that. And then I moved to New York right after school, and I got involved at the Upright Citizens Brigade. So that's kind of where I really started. And I was a performer there and a writer there for years and a teacher there. And so I did that at night. And then my first writing job was at this place called The Onion News Network. We made like comedy satirical videos, which they don't make anymore. I mean, the website's still there, but we used to make videos. And so I worked there for a couple of years, and I worked at Funny or Die for a little bit, and now I work at Saturday Night Live. And that is, oh my God. Thank you. And so, yeah, I worked there. And so this was my first, so I mostly have been a writer and a comedy writer, and then this is my first film. And I had directed a little bit at The Onion and Funny or Die, but nothing feature length like this before. So, yeah.
And you're head writer this season.
Yeah, one of the
SNL
head
with
writers.
your-
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the comedy.
Oh boy, it's been a rough year, guys. It's been a rough year.
Get me through. So with all that writing experience, what was the impetus for it is time to write my first feature film?
I don't know. I had always wanted to, and like I said, I come from a sketch background, so I'd say for about 8 or 10 years, I'd only been writing 3, 4, or 5 minute sketches, which I love. I love being a sketch writer, but I'd always wanted to write something that had a more sustained narrative and tell a story. And I also specifically, I wanted to write something longer, but I mostly cared about, I wanted to write a drama. I wanted to write something a little more dramatic. And so I just wanted to see what that would be like. And I kind of thought about it for a while, and I didn't know what to write about, and I kept coming back to this time in my life. And I felt sort of self-conscious writing about it because, you know, I mean, there's been movies that have tackled similar subject matter before, and I was self-conscious about, you know, we've seen cancer movies before, and I didn't know if it was too self-indulgent to write about my own life, and I had like 1,000 reasons not to do it, and then I kind of just said, fuck it, because I was only writing it for myself. I didn't expect it to get made. No one was begging me to write it. So I thought if I'm going to just take a risk and write something longer and something more dramatic for the first time, I should, you know, follow that advice of write what you know and start from a place that felt real and then just see if I could do it. So, yeah.
What percentage of the film would you say is autobiographical? Is it pretty much your story?
Like 100% and 0%. I don't know. Like it's, you know, I don't know. So it's, you know, the big things are true. Like obviously, I mean, I'm married and I'm straight and I have kids. No, no. That's the only change. The only thing I changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
What I was like, was everyone so stressed for 1 second before you knew it was a joke? You're like, oh. You were like, no, you're not. I don't know. Like all the big picture stuff happened. My mom died and I have sisters and I moved back home. And so it was I don't know. There are some scenes that to me happened verbatim-ish, at least from my point of view. And then there's some things that are fully invented, scenes that didn't happen at all. I guess the way I've been describing it is it's autobiographical in that when it was over and I was writing it, I thought about real takeaways or real things that I remember that I feel like my mom left me with, or real things I felt like I learned from that time that are true, and then I invented scenes to help convey the true things, if that makes sense. I don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. So what was the biggest challenge for you moving from this more short form comedy style into a feature length drama from the writing perspective?
From the writing perspective, I was very worried about writing a drama, but not writing like a drama, you know what I mean? Like I was very worried about those moments, when you see a movie, I feel self-conscious talking about it because I may have fallen into these traps, but when I watch a film, I get very stressed and I'm like, oh God, they want me to cry now, or like, here comes the swelling music, or like, I was very worried about melodrama because I'd never written drama before, and I was very worried about threading the comedy and the drama, and I wanted the drama to come naturally and just feel like regular and feel like every day, and I wanted the conversations to feel like the way people talked and not like anyone was saying like, son, I'm about to die and I must tell you this. So it was very, I practiced a lot with like improvising to myself, talking as myself to my mom and vice versa. And so I guess that was what was tricky, was trying to make sure that the comedy felt like it came from reality and not like I was trying to do a pratfall out of nowhere, and making sure that the drama wasn't too like sad with a capital S or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was so surprised at how many times I was crying and then like laughing out loud. And I'm like, I don't know if it's okay for me to be laughing. You know what I mean? Like in a good way. So it did not feel melodramatic to me. So I think you did a great job. So here, I think this is an interesting question to ask a writer. I don't know if you guys agree, but what did you have like a specific couple images or scenes in your head that were the things that stuck, that got you to really start putting it down on paper?
Yeah. I knew I wanted to end it with Drops of Jupiter. I knew that was in the script. And so when producers sign on to a movie, they're like, but we can obviously, if we can't get Drops of Jupiter, we can just use a different song, right? And I was like, unfortunately, no. I'm so sorry. I don't know. The beginning and the end were, once I knew what I'm kind of writing something now and I don't have the beginning and end yet, but I have a lot of the middle and I just can't do it because I don't know how it begins. And once I latched onto the beginning and ending shots of the movie, then I felt okay. Like I knew I wanted to begin with the death because I didn't want it to be about will she or won't she die. I wanted it to be like she dies, then what do they do until that? And I wanted it to start very awful and sad and then kind of undercut it with that Taco Bell phone call. So I knew I wanted that because it would at least, whether people liked it or not, they would know what they were in for. They knew what the tone would be. So I had that always in mind from the beginning. And I got pitches kind of throughout, like during rewrites or when people would read it, people would suggest, well, maybe you don't need to start with that scene. And people made good points. And so I really thought about it, but I just had that image in my mind and I just couldn't let it go. And then I really wanted this song that you kind of laughed at the whole movie to end the movie. So I kind of knew I had that. Ooh, and I was so nervous when we were editing too, because I had never, in the edit, like when we were filming it, obviously there was no music playing over those scenes, but I knew the whole time that I was going to end with Drops of Jupiter. And I was like, ooh, this could be a real fumble, baby. Because it's such I don't know. I was so nervous. And then the first time I edited it with the music, I really liked it, but that was something I kind of always pictured in my mind, I guess.
Great. Yeah. So you mentioned this already, and I've heard it in other interviews of you, that you were writing it kind of for the enjoyment or the exercise of writing it. So how does your feature that you don't really plan to produce end up premiering at Sundance? What was the process of that getting picked up?
Yeah. I don't know. I just think I didn't like shut the fuck up about it. I think I just think I kept emailing my agents and managers, being like, "Can we? Who else could read it?" Like, it was my managers and agents believing in it and being very supportive of me that I think ultimately got it made, and then producers willing to take a risk. But I wrote it just as a writing exercise to have like a sample that maybe I could use to get a job down the road or something. But then, so there's probably a couple of years between when I wrote it and then it got produced. And then Adam Scott and Naomi Scott, the actor and his wife are a producing team, and they're amazing. They read it and liked it. And it's because of them and them being like, we will find a way to finance this and get it made, that it became real.
That's great. So producers basically saw it through your agents first?
Yeah, I think we had the same agents, and they thought we would have a similar sensibility and that they might like the script. And then once we had the producers, we kind of, we still didn't have any money. Then for such a small movie like this, and I think, for financiers and stuff, it has a lot of words that make the movie stressful for financiers because it's cancer and gay. Oh my God. So, I think it just felt, I think it was like, oh, will this make money, or this is small, or, I think it was, it's not a big summer blockbuster movie. So it took the right people to want to finance it. But maybe, I guess my point was, because of that, we started by just accruing a cast. So before we even had financing, my producers helped me go out to, first Jesse Plemons was the first one who signed on, and then Molly Shannon. And then once we had like 3 or 4 people that we thought were a good group to show financiers, that's how it came together.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So Jesse was first, and then Molly. Did you have the rest of the main family cast before you went to financiers? Or
I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't know. Who knows?
And and so with the casting process, did you have Jesse or Molly in mind when you started going out, or were those happy accidents?
Yeah, well, Jesse signed on maybe like a year and a half before we even made it, before we had financing or anything. Weirdly, we had just sent him the script and he liked it, and we met right away, and he was very kind and was like, yes, I'll do it. And he hadn't done Fargo yet or Black Mass, and he had all these things in the pipeline, and scheduling wise, he was like, I don't know when this is going to happen, if this is going to happen, but I will promise you I'll set aside a month to do this. And I thought for sure that he wouldn't. I mean, not because he's a jerk, but we had no money and he has a million things. He's such an in-demand actor. So it really came down to him being like, I promise I will do this. And then it made the movie real to other people because we had him. And then Molly, I didn't have her in mind when I was writing it, obviously, because I had my mother in mind. But I think the first time someone was like, who would play your mother? I was like, Molly Shannon or something like that. That's just who I pictured, because she's so funny and she's so full of life, and people mostly know her as a comedian. But she's done great dramatic work too. She's just not as known for it. And I just knew she could do both. And I was like, the thing I remember the most about my mom is that she was so funny and so full of life and kind of lit up a room. And so it's obviously sad when anybody dies, but because she was so larger than life and funny and strong and a smart ass, to see her like lose her voice and then die was a real shitty situation. So I wanted the audience to feel that. I wanted them to have to go through it too. And I really wanted for her and for most of the roles it to be funny people, it to be comedians.
Were you nervous about working with people that had so much experience as your first time directing?
Yeah. I mean, I was nervous about all of it, I guess. Yeah. I was nervous at the beginning just because I was like, I thought I had tricked everybody, and eventually everyone's going to gather on set on day 2 and be like, he does not know what he's doing. But no, it was fun. It was great. I really liked it, and I had lived with the script for so long, and I knew what I wanted, and so I felt confident that I would be okay. And the actors were so good, and casting is so much of it. So if you get the best people and you just let them do what they're good at, then you're most of the way there. So, as
a first-time director, was there somebody kind of on your team that you felt like you were relying most heavily on in the production to kind of check in with and say, how's this going? Or
yeah. I mean, Naomi Scott is a good example, who was one of the producers. I mean, her and Adam were great, and all my producers were great, but she really creatively, she was there every day on set, and I would kind of bounce ideas off of her. Also my DP, because this is my first feature that I'm directing, so just visually, like what I wanted, and he could kind of fill in the blanks if I had a question or if I wasn't sure what to do with a certain scene. Everybody really, I mean, it was such a small core group of people who made this movie, and it was so run and gun, and it was such a short shoot, so everyone, it was great. Yeah, I felt very helped. Definitely can't take all the credit for this.
So one of the things that I really liked and found interesting how you handled in the course of the film is David's experience with this Christian father that doesn't know what to do with him, but it was handled very gracefully, I thought. And was that part of your story, or why did you want to include that in the narrative, kind of that journey of faith and sexuality that people are talking about right now?
Yeah. I did it because it's buzzy, baby. No, yeah, I guess just because it was true. Yeah, it was true. It's autobiographically. Like not every single thing happened beat for beat, but it was part of my life and it was part of my experience of moving home. So I just included it. But I was nervous about that because I didn't want it to be like black and white, or I didn't want to write the father as like a big bad villain or as like a jerk. So I was very, that was another one of the things that I was very stressed about, because also it's one thing to write a script based on your family and kind of show the warts and all and be like, well, who cares? No one's ever going to see this. They don't have to watch this. Like this isn't, and then you make it and you're like, oh shit, they will all see this. So I should really, and I don't mean I should change it, but I should really be like thoughtful. Like I didn't make the father character nice and the real guy is terrible by any means. I'm not saying that, but it makes you thoughtful about like, how am I going to choose to present this story? And I don't know, one of the things that I thought was interesting about my real life experience when I was trying to like reflect and make a script out of this was that when I was home, I was so adamant that he was the bad guy and that he didn't understand and he was such a jerk and how could you be homophobic in 2009. And I think I made some good points in my mind, and I agree with a lot of my frustration towards him, but I wasn't the only one who was hurting, and I wasn't the only one who was sad, and I think I did unfairly paint him as a villain in my own mind. And I tried to like peek at that a little bit in the movie, or just the idea that even though I was upset, or even though I was mad, or even though I had some like fair frustrations with my father or other people, that I wasn't the only one going through it, and I could have probably done a better job of seeing where he was coming from, and that he's not like a terrible person. He just has a different point of view, different belief system. I don't know. Wow, it's really about my life, guys. Halfway through, I was like, oh boy.
What was the hardest scene for you to direct in the film?
The hardest scene for me to direct. Well, like, well, there's, I guess the first thing that came to mind, I don't know if this is true, but it was just like emotionally weird, was the final scene with the mother and son when she says, take care of your sisters, just because it was another example of writing something that I didn't anticipate. Oh, now I'm going to have to shoot this with actors. And, I wrote it so long ago and it was emotional and it's about I'm talking about myself so much, but I guess this is a movie I made. I wrote it and it was emotional when I wrote it, but then you spend so many years trying to get it made that it becomes a business and that the script becomes a commodity. And so it feels less emotional in kind of a gross way. You feel self-conscious about that. So I thought by the time that it got around to directing it, that I wouldn't be so emotional, or that I wouldn't be as affected by it. But then when you see a woman looking like your mother and telling you all the things, it was truly caught me by surprise. And I think there were several times I was like, okay, cut, that was very good, you guys. And then they had to like hug me, and like me was telling me it was gonna be okay. It was so self-involved. There's nothing more self-involved than writing a movie about yourself and then cast. It's so gross. But yeah, I guess it was hard, but it was good. It was lovely. And I was comforted by the fact that it was like the best actors I could have doing this. So, but it was just, I would call my sisters afterwards and be like, you can't, it's such a surreal day. It's such a surreal, awful day that I chose to put myself through. I chose to film these scenes about
watching your own heartache.
Yeah. Truly, when I was filming the like aerial shot of like the death scene, I was like, why the fuck would I do this? Why the fuck would I recreate this? It's so sad. But I'm like, I just had to be like, okay, it'll be worth it, I guess, once it's done. But yeah, sad.
And what's your favorite moments of the movie?
My favorite moments. I really love Molly's performance in the scene where they're filling out the end of life paperwork. I think I just love it. I think they're all good, but I think she is just the best. Just there were so many parts in that scene where it's just one take of her just acting the shit out of that scene. She's just so angry and hurt and like joking with her husband and kind of picking at him, and then takes her wig off. And there were so many moves that could have been melodramatic, but she's just fantastic in it. Yeah. And actually, no. My favorite moment is, it's only for personal reasons. My favorite moment is in the New Year's Eve scene where she dances and then he dances back at her. Yeah.
I love that.
I like
beautiful. That. So what's next? I mean, you're on SNL for the season.
Fucking Trump shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Trump.
Are you working on other features or?
I am working on another feature, but they take a long time. You have to write like every single word.
How long did it take you to write this one?
It took me. This one wasn't crazy long. I had like been thinking. I mean, so much of the process for me is just in my brain for a long time before I actually write. But I think I wrote this script over my first summer after SNL, that first summer, and then I had just a draft that existed that was maybe crappy, and then on my off weeks for the next season, I would open it up and chisel away at it. So I'm working on something, but I don't know. It takes a while.
Will we see another funny drama from you next? Or is it completely different?
Where you're going? I don't know. I guess this is a funny drama.
Okay. A drama that has funny parts?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I did like doing something that wasn't just full comedy. It was fun, and it was fun and exciting to work with. Like talking to Jesse Plemons about acting, it was just so crazy. I was like, I don't deserve to be talking to you about it. I don't know. It was just fun to dip my toe in this other world and that I'd never been a part of, and to work with actors on a dramatic scene. I don't know. It was just great. I really learned a lot, and I think I would like to do something like that again.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, I think on behalf of everybody, thank you for sharing your life with us. It's
a beautiful thank you guys
movie.
Very much for being here. Thank you.
It's really beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks.
That's it.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.